I'm Mahesh Kumar, working as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at B.V. Raju Institute of Technology, Narsapur campus. I'm going to deal with computational thinking and programming. We are discussing about control structures to solve computational problems. So in the previous session, we have discussed how to make use of simple if statement and if-else statement. In this session, we will be discussing about how to make use of nested if statement. So first we will see what is nested if-else statement. So when you combine one if-else statement in another if-else statement, we call it as nesting. So you can combine one if-else statement in another if-else statement, or one if can be combined with another if. So when you combine like this, we call this particular concept as nesting statements. So in order to use this nested if-else statement in our program, we have to follow the syntax. So this is the syntax we have to make use in order to use nested if-else statement. So in a nested if-else statement, we will be having an outer if block as well as inner if block, inner else block as well as outer else block. So based on the first expression evaluation, if the first expression is evaluated to true, then we will move into the inner block and the second condition will be tested. If this expression is evaluated to true, then inner if block statements gets executed. If the second expression is evaluated to false, this inner if block will be skipped for execution, and the control will be transferred to the else block when the second expression is evaluated to false. So whatever the statements we have in inner else block gets executed. So if the first expression itself is evaluated to false, then the control will be directly transferred to the outer else block, and whatever the statements we have in outer else block gets executed. So this is the syntax we have to make use in the program. Now we will see the working of this particular nested if-else statement. The first expression will be evaluated first. Based on the result of the expression 1, if it is true, then the control will be transferred into outer if block. Immediately after the control enters into outer if block, the expression 2 will be tested, evaluated. So based on this particular evaluation, if the expression 2 is evaluated to true, then the inner if block statements gets executed. If the expression is evaluated to false, then inner else block will be executed. If we assume that if the first expression itself is false, then the control will be entered directly into outer else block, and whatever the statements we have in outer else block gets executed. So this is how this nested if-else statement works. And whatever the statements we have after this nested statements will be executed in a sequence. So when we use this nested if-else in our program, so what is the control flow? So the first condition is tested. If the condition is evaluated to true, then the control will be traveled in true path and it will be entering into the outer if statement, and second condition will be tested. So based on the result of this second condition, If the second condition is evaluated to true, the control travels in the true path and statement 2 gets executed. If this condition is evaluated to false, the control travels in the false path and statement 1 gets executed. And after executing either this or this statement, the control has to transfer out of the block. After coming out of the block, whatever the statements that are followed after the nested block gets executed. So if the first condition itself is evaluated to false, the control travels in false path, statement 3 gets executed, which is in outer else block. And after executing the statements which are in outer else block, the control will be traveled out of the block and the statements which are followed after the nested block gets executed. So this is how we will make use of nested if statement in our program. Now let us see an example. So in this program, we will make use of nested if statement. So now our program has to find out among 3 values which is the maximum value. So our program has to ask user to input the values. So the program will ask user to input 3 values. So after this message is conveyed to the user, the program has to read the 3 values which are inputted by the user. So we will make use of scanf function. All the 3 input values have to be read into the program, which are of integer type. So we will read 3 input values. So 3 integer values will be read into the program and they have to be stored in the program in order to do further process. So the program has to remember these 3 values until the process have to be completed. So we have to store these values in variable. So in order to store these values in the program, we have to declare 3 variables which are able to store integer values. So we will name them as n1, n2 and n3. So 3 variables. So store these 3 input values in each of the variable n1, n2, n3. Now the program has read all the 3 inputs given by the user. Now the program has to decide and answer the user among these 3 values, which value is the maximum value. We have to make use of nested if statement in our program. So as we know the syntax of using nested if, first we will make use of if statement. This if statement should have the first expression. So in the first expression, we will test n value with n2 value. If n1 value is greater than n2 value, this is the condition we have framed. If this expression is evaluated to true, the control has to move into the outer if block statement. So once we move into the outer if block statement, immediately we have to have another if statement where we have to check the second condition. n1 should be checked with the third value, n3. So this is the second condition we have framed. Now we have inner if statement. Along with inner if statement, we should have else statement, right? Now what you have to write, what is the logic you have to write in this inner loop? So when first condition is true, the control is transferred into outer loop, outer if statement, and it will the program will check the second condition. If second condition is true, then the control has to travel into inner if block. Now once you enter into inner if block, what is the meaning of that? The program has taken a decision now. It has to print something to the user. So what it has decided, if the value of n n1 is greater than n2 and if the value of n1 is greater than n3, which means that n1 is the maximum value among three values. So program has decided and it has to convey it to the user. So it will print percentile d is maximum. Percentile d is maximum. Right? So if first condition is evaluated to true, but if first condition is evaluated true, but second condition is evaluated to false, the control has to skip this inner if block and it has to travel into else block. The control should move to inner else block and it has took one decision. So what is that decision? That should be conveyed to the user. So if first condition is true, if the first condition is true and second condition is false, then the program will decide and tell what is the meaning of that. If n1 is greater than n2 but n1 is not greater than n3, which means that the third value is maximum. Percentile d is maximum. So this is how we have to make a logic of this program. Now consider the first condition itself is evaluated to false. As per the syntax, if the first condition itself is evaluated to false, the control has to be traveled to the outer else block. Control has to travel into outer else block and the program has to check the second value whether it is greater than the third value. Now we have another if statement in else block. So first condition is evaluated to false. So we are checking the second condition whether n2 value is greater than n3. So if n2 value is greater than n3, which means that the program has decided and it has to tell the user that percentile d is maximum. Percentile d is maximum. So if first condition is evaluated to false, n1 is not greater than n2, right? That means n2 is greater. And if second condition is true, evaluated to true, that is n2 is greater than n3. So n2 is greater than n1 as well as n3. So what we have to display? n2 is maximum. So that is what we are doing here. So if the second condition is evaluated to false, then we should have else block here. So the program has to decide and it has to tell or convey the user that percentile d is maximum. So this is how we will make use of nested if block statements. So when you write this logic, you have to display what is the value which is maximum. So we will write here if n1 is greater than n2 and n3, then n1 is greater. In this case, n3 is greater. In this case, n2 is greater. And we have to display the values. n3 is greater. So this is how we will make use of nested if else statement in our program. Now we'll run this program and we'll check the output of this. So we have to enter three input values: 56 first input, 57 second input, and so the program is reading only two input values. So check the code once. So we didn't write address symbol here, address of n2 and address of n3. So once again we'll run the program. So the program is asking to input the values. So first we will take first input as 45, 56 and 25. So among these three inputs, the second value n2 is maximum So we are printing 56 is maximum. So once again we will run the code, we will check for other inputs. So we'll take the first value as maximum, 56, 43 and 35. So 56 first value, n1 is maximum. And third test, we'll check for the third n3 value, 45, 23 and 56. So n3 is maximum. So this is how we will make use of nested if statement in our program. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.